Lisa Kelly brushed dust from the strange object and held her breath. After 3 weeks of digging at the alien ruins on Corvus Thor, she had finally found something extraordinary. The object gleamed under her flashlight, its surface shifting colors like oil on water. "Captain Ward, you need to see this," she called out, her voice echoing through the ancient chamber. Eric Ward ducked under the low entrance and made his way carefully across the uneven floor. His uniform was dirty from the day's exploration, but his eyes were alert and curious. "What did you find?" he asked, kneeling beside her. Lisa pointed at the object embedded in the wall. "I think it's armor, but nothing like I've ever seen before." Together they worked to free it from its resting place. As the last bit of rock fell away, the object seemed to pulse with internal light. It was a complete set of armor, sized for a humanoid body, made of a material that looked both solid and liquid at the same time. "Precursor technology," Eric whispered with awe. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the precursors, the ancient race that had vanished thousands of years ago, leaving only ruins and mysteries behind. Their technology was legendary, most of it still beyond the understanding of modern science. "We need to report this to Earth Command immediately," he said, reaching for his communicator. Lisa nodded but couldn't take her eyes off the armor. Something about it called to her, like a whisper just beyond hearing. News of the discovery spread quickly. By the next day, the research base was buzzing with activity. Scientists rushed to examine the armor while military personnel increased security around the site. "The Zeltari delegation has arrived," a young soldier informed Captain Ward. "They're demanding to see the artifact." Eric sighed. The Zeltari Confederation was the dominant alien power in this sector, tall with iridescent skin and 4 arms. They considered themselves the rightful heirs to precursor legacy. They would not be happy about humans finding such a significant artifact. "Bring them to the conference room," he ordered. "I'll meet them there." In the lab, Lisa and her team were carefully scanning the armor. "It's unlike anything in our database," she explained to Dr. Ben Cole, the base's chief scientist. "The material adapts to stimuli, temperature, pressure, even light." "Can it be worn?" Ben asked, adjusting his glasses. "In theory, yes, but we haven't tried yet. We don't know what it might do." Their conversation was interrupted when Eric entered with 3 Zeltari officials. The aliens moved with fluid grace, their multiple eyes blinking in the bright lab lights. "This is Ambassador Krell," Eric introduced the tallest Zeltari. "He wishes to inspect the artifact." Ambassador Krell stepped forward, his upper arms folded in a gesture of authority. "This armor belongs to the sacred ancestors," he declared. "It must be returned to the Zeltari Confederation for proper reverence." "With respect, Ambassador," Lisa replied, standing her ground. "This artifact was discovered on Corvus 4, which is under joint human-Zeltari research jurisdiction. We have every right to study it." The ambassador's skin darkened with displeasure. "The precursors chose the Zeltari as their successors. Your people are newcomers to the stars, ignorant of ancient powers." He turned to Eric. "Captain Ward, I insist this armor be handed over immediately." Eric maintained a diplomatic smile. "We welcome Zeltari scholars to participate in the research, but the artifact stays here until both our governments reach an agreement." Ambassador Krell's eyes narrowed. "Then I must insist on performing the sacred touching ceremony. If the armor responds to Zeltari touch, it will prove our claim." Before anyone could object, Krell approached the armor and placed his hand on its surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the armor's surface rippled violently. A bright flash filled the room and Krell was thrown backward, crashing into a table of equipment. His assistants rushed to help him up. The ambassador clutched his injured hand, his skin flashing patterns of pain and rage. "Your treachery will not be forgotten," he hissed before storming out with his delegation. "Well, that went well," Ben remarked dryly. Over the next few days, representatives from other alien species arrived at Corvus the 4. Each claimed some connection to the precursors, and each demanded access to the armor. Under strict protocols, several aliens were allowed to attempt contact with the artifact. The results were always the same: violent rejection. Theories began to circulate. Some suggested the armor was designed with biological locks. Others believed it was programmed to respond only to precursor DNA. The Zeltari maintained that humans had sabotaged the armor to prevent alien use. Tensions rose throughout the base as diplomatic incidents multiplied. Earth Command sent messages of caution, urging Eric to maintain peace while protecting the Discovery. Late one night, Lisa worked alone in the lab, reviewing the latest test results. The armor sat on a special stand, its surface occasionally rippling as if disturbed by invisible currents. The door slid open, and Eric entered. "You should get some rest," he said. "You've been at this for 16 hours straight." Lisa rubbed her tired eyes. "I'm close to something, Eric. The armor's molecular structure, it's like nothing we've seen before, but there's something familiar about its basic pattern." Their conversation was cut short by alarms blaring throughout the base. "Security breach in Section C," announced the automated system. "All personnel to emergency stations." Eric's communicator buzzed. "Captain, a Zeltari strike team has infiltrated the base. They're heading for the lab. Lock down the artifact," Eric ordered Lisa as he drew his weapon. "I'll hold them off at the main door." Lisa activated the security protocols, but before the protective shield could fully engage around the armor, the lab's emergency exit burst. "Open." 3 Zeltari commandos rushed in, weapons aimed at her. "Step away from the sacred relic," one commanded. Eric fired from the doorway, forcing the Zeltari to take cover. "Lisa, get out of there!" In the confusion, one of the commandos lunged toward the armor. Lisa reacted instinctively, throwing herself between the alien and the artifact. As she fell backward, her hand brushed against the armor's surface. Unlike its violent reaction to alien touch, the armor seemed to recognize her. Its surface flowed like liquid metal, extending tendrils that wrapped around her arm. A wave of warmth spread through her body as the material began to envelop her completely. Everyone in the room froze, watching in astonishment as the armor covered Lisa from head to toe, conforming perfectly to her body. For a moment she panicked, unable to breathe. Then suddenly she could see through what had become a transparent faceplate, and air flowed freely around her. Information flooded her mind. Sensor readings, environmental data, power levels, all somehow instantly understandable. She felt stronger, lighter, as if gravity had lessened its hold on her. The Zeltari commandos backed away, their weapons trembling in their hands. "Impossible," one whispered. "No being has worn precursor armor in 10,000 years." With movements that felt both alien and natural, Lisa stood up. The armor moved with her perfectly, requiring no effort. She could feel its power humming around her, ready to respond to her thoughts. "Lisa," Eric called, his voice a mixture of concern and awe. "Are you all right?" She turned to him, seeing the world through enhanced vision that picked out details she had never noticed before. "I'm fine," she answered, surprised by how calm she felt. "Better than fine." The Zeltari attackers exchanged glances, then dropped their weapons and knelt, pressing all 4 arms against the floor in what appeared to be a gesture of submission or worship. "The awakening has begun," the lead commando said, his voice trembling. "The human wears the armor. The prophecy is fulfilled." Lisa looked down at her armored hands, watching as the material shifted and adjusted with each tiny movement. Somehow she knew this was just the beginning. The armor had chosen her, and with that choice everything had changed. War was coming. She could feel it in the armor's memory, in the power that now flowed through her. A war that had been sleeping, for millennia, waiting for someone who could wear the armor and awaken ancient powers once more. The Earthship Valiant broke through the clouds of Corvus IV, ascending rapidly toward space. Inside the secure medical bay, Lisa Kelly sat perfectly still as Dr. Ben Cole ran another scanner over the armor that now covered her body. "Can you feel this?" Ben asked, tapping lightly on the armor's shoulder piece. "Yes," Lisa replied. "It's like having a second skin. I can feel pressure, temperature, everything." Captain Eric Ward watched from the doorway. It had been 3 days since the incident in the lab. 3 days since Lisa had bonded with the precursor armor. The Zeltari Confederation had filed formal protests, demanding her immediate surrender to their authorities. Earth Command had responded by ordering Lisa back to Earth under heavy guard. Any luck figuring out how to remove it? Eric asked. Ben shook his head. The armor seems completely bonded to her at a molecular level, but her vital signs are strong. Better than before, actually. It's okay, Lisa said. I don't want it removed. Not yet. She flexed her hand, watching as the armor flowed like liquid metal across her knuckles. There's so much to learn from it. The ship's intercom crackled. Captain Ward to the bridge. We have company. Eric hurried to the bridge where Officer Stella Garcia pointed to the radar display. 3 Zeltari warships just dropped out of hyperspace. They're demanding we surrender the sacred relic and its thief immediately. Increase speed, Eric ordered, and notify our escort ships. Back in the medical bay, Lisa suddenly stood up. Something's happening, she said, her voice tense. What is it? Ben asked, reaching for his scanner. The armor. It's warning me. I can feel it. She turned toward the viewport, looking out at the stars. Danger. The ship shuddered as something hit it. Alarms began to sound throughout the vessel. We're under attack, Ben said. We need to get to the escape pods. Lisa shook her head. No, I need to help. Before Ben could stop her, she ran from the medical bay, moving with unexpected speed and grace. On the bridge, Eric gripped the command console as the ship rocked again. Shields down to 60%. The Zeltari are targeting our engines, Stella reported. Our escort ships are engaging, but we're outnumbered. The bridge door slid open, and Lisa entered. The armor seemed to glow slightly, pulsing with internal light. Lisa, you shouldn't be here. Eric began, but stopped when he saw her expression. I know what to do, she said with quiet certainty. The armor is showing me. She stepped to the weapons console and placed her armored hands on the surface. To everyone's amazement, the console lit up with new symbols and displays. Through some connection between the armor and the ship's systems, new targeting solutions appeared. Fire on these coordinates, she told Stella. Stella looked at Eric, who nodded after a moment's hesitation. She activated the weapons, following Lisa's instructions. The ship's standard laser cannons fired, but somehow their energy was amplified. The beam struck the lead Zeltari ship with surgical precision, disabling its weapons without destroying the vessel. How did you do that? Eric asked, astonished. I'm not sure, Lisa admitted. The armor somehow interfaced with our technology and enhanced it. It's like it remembers fighting these kinds of battles before. With the lead ship disabled, the other Zeltari vessels broke off their attack and retreated to a safe distance. For now, the immediate danger had passed. We need to get you to Earth as quickly as possible, Eric said to Lisa. Whatever that armor is, it's far more powerful than we imagined. 2 weeks later, Lisa stood in a secure research facility on Earth. Around her, scientists and military officials watched through reinforced glass as she demonstrated the armor's capabilities. Dr. Alan Frost, Earth's leading expert on alien technology, observed with fascination as Lisa lifted a weight that would normally require industrial machinery. The strength enhancement is remarkable, he noted. And you say you can breathe in any atmosphere? Lisa nodded. The armor adapts. I tested it in the vacuum chamber yesterday. It created its own oxygen supply. General Patricia Mills, head of Earth Defense, frowned. And you're certain you can't remove it? It retracts partially, Lisa demonstrated, willing the helmet to dissolve back into the collar of the armor, revealing her face. But it won't separate completely. I think it's waiting for something. For what? The general asked. Before Lisa could answer, the door opened and Eric entered with a worried expression. We just received word from our outposts near Zeltari space, he reported. Their Grand Council has declared the armor a sacred relic stolen by humans. They're demanding its return under threat of war. General Mills straightened her uniform. They wouldn't dare attack Earth directly. They might not have to, Dr. Frost interjected. The Zeltari have significant influence with the Galactic Assembly. They could turn other species against us. Lisa closed her eyes, feeling the armor pulse against her skin. Strange images flashed through her mind. Ancient battles, strange enemies, and a sense of terrible urgency. "There's more going on here than politics," she said quietly. "The armor is trying to show me something about why it was created in the first place." That night, Lisa slept fitfully in her quarters at the research facility. The armor had retracted to a minimal form, covering her like a second skin but allowing her to rest comfortably. As she drifted deeper into sleep, vivid dreams took hold. She stood on a battlefield under an alien sky. Around her, beings in armor similar to her own fought against shadowy creatures that seemed to shift between solid and vapor. One armored figure turned to her, its face hidden behind a visor much like her own. "Remember," a voice spoke directly into her mind. "The vaults, the key, the purpose." Lisa woke with a gasp, sitting upright in bed. The armor responded instantly to her distress, flowing back into its full form. "The vaults," she whispered, the dream still vivid in her mind. She moved to the computer terminal in her room and began searching through the database of precursor ruins discovered throughout the galaxy. As the armor guided her search, patterns began to emerge, specific structures found on different worlds, all with similar designs. When Eric came to check on her the next morning, he found her surrounded by holographic maps and star charts. "I know what the armor wants," she said without looking up. "It's been waiting for thousands of years for someone who could wear it, who could unlock the precursor vaults scattered across the galaxy." "Vaults? What do they contain?" Eric asked. Lisa finally looked up at him, her eyes filled with both wonder and fear. "Weapons, an arsenal created to fight an enemy the precursors couldn't defeat, only contain. And according to these readings from the Zeltari homeworld," she pointed to a data stream, "that enemy might already be awakening." "What enemy?" Eric's voice was grave. "The armor doesn't have a name for them in any language I can understand. But it shows me images." She shuddered. "Beings of shadow that can possess other life forms. And somehow they're connected to the Zeltari leadership." Eric stared at the display, then at the armor that encased Lisa's body. "If what you're saying is true, we're not just facing a diplomatic crisis. We're on the brink of a war that began thousands of years ago." Lisa nodded, the weight of her new understanding settling on her shoulders. "And for some reason, the precursors designed this armor to work only with human biology. They were preparing for this moment, Eric. They knew we would be needed when the enemy returned." Outside her window, the morning sun rose over Earth's horizon, its light glinting off the strange material of the armor. Armor that had chosen a human when no alien could wear it. Armor that was slowly awakening ancient powers and ancient dangers alike. Lisa stood before the Earth Defense Council, her armor gleaming under the bright lights of the chamber. 6 weeks had passed since her return to Earth, and in that time, she had learned much about the precursor technology bonded to her body. "The armor has shown me locations of 17 vaults," she explained, gesturing to the star map projected behind her. "Each contains weapons or technology created to fight the beings the armor calls Void Harbingers." General Mills leaned forward. "And you're certain these Harbingers are connected to the Zeltari leadership?" "The armor detected their energy signature during our escape from Corvus IV," Lisa replied. "Not all Zeltari are affected, but their Grand Council shows signs of Harbinger influence." Captain Eric Ward stepped up beside her. "We've compiled evidence from across the border worlds, reports of strange behavior among high-ranking officials, unexplained policy changes, aggressive military buildups." Dr. Alan Frost added, "And most telling, a systematic effort to locate and claim all precursor artifacts, especially anything related to the armor." The council members exchanged worried glances. Admiral Sam Baker, head of the Space Fleet, spoke next. "What exactly are these Harbingers? What do they want?" Lisa took a deep breath. The armor had been feeding her information through dreams and direct neural links, but explaining it to others remained difficult. "They're not fully in our dimension," she said. "They exist partially here, partially elsewhere. The precursors, fought them for centuries before developing a way to contain them between dimensions, but the containment is failing. And these beings can possess people? Asked Counselor Maria Diaz. Not exactly possession, Lisa explained. It's more like infiltration. They merge with a host's nervous system and gradually influence their thoughts and actions. The host might not even realize they're being controlled. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Council President Howard Grant spoke. If what you're saying is true, we face an enemy unlike any we've encountered. How do we fight something we can barely detect, let alone understand? With this, Lisa replied, tapping her armored chest. And with whatever is stored in those vaults. The precursors created this armor as a key and a weapon. I need permission to lead a mission to the nearest vault on Kepler-22. President Grant shook his head. Kepler-22 is within Zeltari territory. Sending a human ship there would be seen as an act of war. War may be inevitable, Eric pointed out. The Zeltari fleet movement suggests they're preparing for something big. Before anyone could respond, an aide rushed into the chamber and whispered urgently to General Mills. Her face paled. We just lost contact with our outpost on Europa, she announced. All 40 personnel gone. The last transmission mentioned shadows moving against the walls. 3 days later, Lisa, Eric, and a small team of specialists stood inside the ruins of Europa Outpost. The temperature was well below freezing, but Lisa felt nothing through her armor. She moved slowly through the main laboratory, scanning for signs of what had happened. No bodies, noted Dr. Olivia Reed, the team's xenobiologist. No blood either. It's like they just vanished. Not vanished, Lisa said quietly. Her armor's sensors picking up faint energy traces. Taken or transformed. Eric examined a computer terminal. Its screen cracked but still functional. According to the logs, they detected unusual energy readings from beneath the ice 2 days ago. They were drilling to investigate. Lisa moved to where a large drill had broken through the floor. A dark hole gaped beneath, leading down into Europa's subsurface ocean. As she approached, her armor began to pulse with warning signals. They're here, she whispered. Below us. As if in response to her words, shadows began to coalesce around the edges of the room. Not ordinary shadows cast by objects blocking light, but moving patches of darkness that seemed to have depth and substance. Everyone back to the ship, Eric ordered, drawing his weapon. Now, the team retreated, but the shadows moved with impossible speed, cutting off their escape route. One of the technicians screamed as a tendril of darkness touched his arm. His skin turned gray where it made contact, the effect spreading rapidly across his body. Lisa reacted instinctively. The armor responded to her thoughts, her hands glowing with blue-white energy. She thrust her palms forward, and beams of light shot toward the shadow creatures. Where the light touched, the shadows recoiled, their forms dissolving temporarily. Run, she shouted to the others, continuing to hold the creatures at bay. Eric grabbed the affected technician, whose transformation had halted when Lisa attacked the shadows. Together, the team rushed back to their ship, Lisa covering their retreat. Once, aboard, Lisa sealed the airlock just as more shadow creatures emerged from the outpost. The ship's engines roared to life, pushing them away from Europa's icy surface. What were those things? Olivia asked, her voice shaking as she treated the injured technician. Harbinger scouts, Lisa replied, allowing her helmet to retract. The armor recognized them. They were testing us, probing our defenses. Why Europa? Eric wondered. Why now? Lisa closed her eyes, communing with the knowledge flowing from the armor. Europa has a precursor structure deep beneath the ice. The outpost's drilling must have disturbed something, awakened something. How many more are there? General, Mills asked over the video link from Earth Command. I don't know, Lisa admitted. But this confirms what the armor has been trying to tell me. The Harbingers aren't just influencing the Zeltari, they're actively returning to our dimension. Back on Earth, emergency meetings convened around the globe. The Europa incident couldn't be kept secret. Too many families wanted answers about their missing loved ones. As news spread, panic followed. If these creatures could infiltrate a secure outpost in Earth's own solar system, nowhere was safe. In her quarters, Lisa reviewed the data from their encounter. The armor had recorded everything, analyzing the Harbinger's energy signatures and attack patterns. She studied the readouts, trying to understand the enemy they faced. A knock at her door interrupted her concentration. Eric entered, carrying reports from Earth's long-range sensors. "We're detecting unusual activity at 7 different Zeltari outposts," he said. "Energy signatures similar to what we saw on Europa." Lisa nodded grimly. "They're establishing beachheads, preparing for something bigger." "The Council has approved your mission to Kepler 22, Eric continued. "We leave in 2 days. A small team, fast ship, minimal profile. Get in, access the vault, get out." "It won't be that simple," Lisa warned. "The Harbingers know what I am now. They'll be hunting for the armor specifically." Eric sat across from her, his expression serious. "There's something else. Dr. Frost has been analyzing your DNA samples from before and after bonding with the armor. He found something unusual." "What?" "Markers in your genetic code that match patterns found in precursor DNA samples, not just in you. They appear to be present in all humans to varying degrees." Lisa stared at him, the implications dawning on her. "You're saying humans are related to precursors? That we're descendants?" "Not descendants exactly. More like we were engineered by them, created specifically to be compatible with their technology when the time came." Lisa looked down at her armored hands. The material rippled slightly as if responding to her emotions. Everything she had learned about human origins, about Earth's history, all of it changed with this revelation. "They created us to fight. Their war," she whispered. "A war that's starting again right now." Outside her window, Earth's defense fleet gathered in orbit, preparing for a conflict unlike any humanity had faced before. The armor had chosen a human, and in doing so, it had awakened both ancient powers and ancient enemies. The war that had been sleeping for millennia was finally beginning again, and humanity stood at its center. The Earthship Defiant slipped through space, its stealth systems active. Lisa stood on the bridge beside Captain Eric Ward, watching as the blue-green planet Kepler 22 grew larger on the viewscreen. Her armor hummed with energy, responding to the proximity of precursor technology. "We're approaching the coordinates," Eric said quietly. "Scans show heavy Zeltari presence in orbit." "They know something's here," Lisa replied. "The armor is showing me the vault's location. It's on the northern continent, hidden beneath a mountain range." Dr. Alan Frost joined them, tablet in hand. "Our latest intelligence is troubling. The Harbinger influence among the Zeltari has spread rapidly. Nearly 40% of their military now shows signs of infiltration." "And Earth?" Lisa asked. "Our screening protocols are working so far. The armor's energy signature seems to repel Harbinger infiltration, so we've developed scanners based on that frequency. But they're adapting quickly." Eric studied the tactical display. "We'll approach from the night side. Minimal crew on the landing craft. Lisa, Dr. Frost, and I will make the approach while the Defiant creates a distraction in another sector." Lisa nodded, her mind already connecting with the armor's guidance systems. The vault contained something vital, something the armor considered essential for the coming conflict. She could feel its urgency pulsing through her. 6 hours later, their small craft touched down in a dense forest. The night air was thick with moisture, strange alien plants glowing with bioluminescence around them. Lisa stepped out first, the armor automatically adjusting to the planet's atmosphere and gravity. "This way," she said, setting off toward a towering mountain range visible in the distance. Her helmet displayed a path only she could see, tracking the energy signatures that would lead them to the vault. They hiked for 3 hours, moving carefully through the alien terrain. Twice they had to hide as Zeltari patrols passed overhead, their ships scanning the ground below. "They're searching, systematically," Eric observed after the second patrol passed. "They must have detected our landing." As they neared the base of the largest mountain, Lisa stopped suddenly, Her armor was vibrating, panels shifting across its surface as new systems came online. "We're close. The entrance should be..." She approached a sheer rock face, placing her armored hand against the stone. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, lines of blue light spread from her fingertips, racing across the rock to form an intricate pattern. With a low rumble, a section of the mountainside slid away, revealing a dark passage. "The armor is the key," Dr. Frost murmured, scanning the opening with his instruments. "Just as you predicted." They entered cautiously, lights from their equipment illuminating a corridor that sloped downward into the mountain. The walls were made of the same shifting material as Lisa's armor, responding to her presence as she moved deeper into the structure. "This place has been waiting," she said softly. "For thousands of years it's been waiting for someone like me." The corridor opened into a vast chamber. As they entered, lights activated automatically, revealing rows of capsules lining the walls. Each was roughly the size and shape of a human. More armor, Eric realized, approaching one of the capsules. Dozens of them. Dr. Frost moved to a central console, its surface lighting up at his touch. "Amazing. This interface is responding to human DNA. The precursors truly did design all this specifically for us." Lisa walked slowly through the rows of capsules, the armor guiding her movements. She stopped before one that seemed different from the others, its surface pulsing with a faint red glow. "This one," she said, placing her hand on the capsule's surface. "This is what we need." The capsule opened with a hiss, revealing not armor but a crystalline object about the size of a human fist. It floated in the center of the container, pulsing with internal light. "What is it?" Eric asked, keeping his distance. Before Lisa could answer, alarms echoed through the chamber. At the entrance, shadows began to coalesce, harbingers flowing into the vault like living darkness. "They found us!" Dr. Frost shouted, backing away from the approaching shadows. Lisa didn't hesitate. She reached into the capsule and grasped the crystal. As her armored fingers closed around it, the crystal flared with blinding light. Energy surged through her armor, new systems activating as the crystal integrated with her suit. The harbingers recoiled from the light, their shadowy forms distorting. Lisa stepped forward, somehow knowing exactly what to do. She raised her hand and a beam of concentrated energy shot from her palm, striking the nearest harbinger. The creature screeched, a sound that seemed to come from another dimension, as its form destabilized and collapsed. "Get to the other capsules," she called to Eric and Dr. Frost. "The armor inside them should be operational now." Eric hesitated only briefly before rushing to the nearest capsule. When he placed his hand on it, the container opened, revealing a suit of armor similar to Lisa's but less elaborate. Without questioning, he stepped into it, watching in amazement as the material flowed around his body, conforming to his shape. Dr. Frost did the same, his scientific curiosity overcoming any fear. Within moments, both men stood in precursor armor, their suits linked to Lisa's through the crystal's energy. "I can feel it," Eric said, his voice filled with wonder. "The armor is teaching me how to use it." More harbingers poured into the chamber, joined by Zeltari soldiers whose eyes glowed with an unnatural light. The possessed aliens opened fire, energy weapons blazing. Lisa moved with newfound grace, the crystal's power enhancing her armor's capabilities. She created a shield of energy that deflected the Zeltari weapons, while Eric and Dr. Frost, quickly adapting to their new armor, engaged the enemy directly. "We need to get these other suits back to Earth," Lisa called over the sounds of battle, "and the data from the central console. It contains information about the harbingers, their weaknesses, their origin." Eric nodded, his movements becoming more confident as he fought. "Frost, download everything you can. I'll contact the Defiant for emergency extraction." As they fought their way through waves of enemies, Lisa felt the crystal's knowledge flowing into her mind. The harbingers weren't just ancient enemies. They were parasites from another dimension, feeding on the energy of sentient beings. The precursors had fought them to a stalemate but couldn't eliminate them completely. Instead, they had created the armor and the vaults preparing for the day when the Harbingers would return. And they had created humans, genetically engineering a species that could wear the armor, use the weapons, and finish the war they couldn't win. Outside the mountain, the sky lit up with explosions as Zeltari ships engaged the Defiant. The Earth vessels swooped low, deploying landing craft to their position despite heavy fire. "Time to go," Eric shouted, helping Dr. Frost carry data cores from the console. Lisa stood at the center of the chamber, the crystal pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. With a gesture, she activated a sequence in the remaining armor capsules, preparing them for transport. "This is just the beginning," she said as they rushed toward the exit, Harbingers and possessed Zeltari in pursuit. "There are more vaults, more weapons, and now we know why we were created, to fight this war." Above them, Earth ships battled in the skies of an alien world, humanity's first engagement in a conflict that had begun millennia before they evolved. The armor that no alien could wear had chosen its champions at last, awakening both ancient powers and ancient responsibilities. 3 months had passed since the mission to Kepler-22. Earth's major cities now had massive energy shields glowing above them, powered by precursor technology from the vaults. In orbit, a fleet of human ships prepared for war, many upgraded, with systems recovered from other precursor sites across the galaxy. Lisa stood at the window of the command center, looking out over the sprawling military base below. Hundreds of soldiers trained in the fields, each wearing streamlined versions of the precursor armor. Not as powerful as her original suit, but enough to give humanity a fighting chance. "The Zeltari fleet has broken through the outer defense line," reported Eric, now Admiral Ward after his promotion. His armor, second only to Lisa's in power, gleamed under the command center lights. "They'll reach Earth in 6 hours. "And the Harbingers?" Lisa asked, turning from the window. Dr. Frost, his own armor configured for scientific analysis rather than combat, brought up a holographic display. "Our sensors detect massive dimensional disturbances behind the Zeltari fleet. They're opening rifts, allowing more Harbingers to cross over." General Mills studied the tactical display. "We've evacuated as many civilians as possible to the underground shelters. The armor production facilities are secure. If Earth falls, the resistance will continue." Lisa nodded, feeling the weight of leadership. In the months since discovering the truth about humanity's engineered origins, she had become more than just the first human to wear the armor. She was a symbol of hope, of humanity's purpose in a war that had begun before their species existed. "We've prepared for this moment for thousands of years, even if we didn't know it," she said. "The precursors created us for this fight. It's time to fulfill our purpose." The crystal she had recovered, now integrated into her chest plate, pulsed with energy as if in agreement. Through it, she could connect with all the other armor suits, sharing knowledge and power across the human defenders. "All units to battle stations," General Mills ordered. "Operation Harbinger's End begins now." The space above Earth blazed with energy weapons and explosions as the human fleet engaged the Zeltari ships. Behind the alien vessels, the fabric of space itself seemed to tear, revealing swirling darkness from which Harbinger forms emerged. Lisa led the vanguard, her enhanced armor allowing her to move through the vacuum of space without a ship. Around her flew 300 elite soldiers, in precursor armor, each connected to her through the crystal's network. "Remember your training," she communicated through the armor's link. "Target the Harbingers first. The Zeltari are victims, possessed against their will. The human forces split into formation, using tactics learned from the armor's ancient memories. They focused their weapons on the dimensional rifts, attempting to close the gateways before more Harbingers could enter our universe." On the bridge of the Earth flagship Guardian, Admiral Ward coordinated the larger fleet action. "Squadron Blue, target those rifts with the precursor cannons. Squadron Red, defend the orbital platforms." The battle raged across Earth's orbit, more intense than any conflict in human history. The Harbingers fought with desperate fury, knowing that humanity possessed the one technology that could truly defeat them. Lisa flew directly toward the largest rift, dodging enemy fire with impossible grace. The crystal in her armor burned brighter as she approached the dimensional tear. According to the knowledge flowing through her suit, these rifts could be sealed by the same energy that powered the precursor armor, but only from close range. "Cover me!" she called to her squad as harbinger shapes converged on her position. The armored soldiers formed a protective ring around her, engaging the shadow creatures with weapons specifically designed to disrupt their extra-dimensional forms. Still, several harbingers broke through, their darkness wrapping around Lisa's armor, trying to find weaknesses. She felt the cold of their touch even through the armor's protection. These were ancient beings, older than humanity, filled with hunger and rage. Through the crystal's connection, she sensed their thoughts, their hatred for the precursors who had confined them, and for humans who now stood in their way. "You were made to be destroyed," the harbinger consciousness hissed into her mind. "Flawed creations of a dead race." Lisa pushed back, both physically and mentally. "We were made to finish what they started," she replied, focusing the crystal's energy through her hands. Brilliant light erupted from her armor, driving the harbingers back. She reached the edge of the dimensional rift, placing her hands against the very fabric of space. The crystal pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat as she channeled its power into the tear. Across the battlefield, other armored soldiers reached similar rifts, following her example. Together, they began the complex process of sealing the gateways between dimensions. The harbingers sensed what was happening and launched a desperate final assault. The largest concentration attacked Earth directly, bypassing the orbital defenses to strike at major cities. Their shadowy forms seeped through even the most secure facilities, seeking to destroy humanity before the rifts could be closed. In the command center, Dr. Frost monitored the global situation. "They're targeting our shield generators and armor production facilities," he reported urgently. "If they succeed, we'll lose our advantage." General Mills activated the planetary defense grid, a network of precursor technology integrated with human systems. "All ground forces engage. Protect those facilities at all costs." Around the world, armored soldiers clashed with shadow creatures in the streets of human cities. The battle that had begun in the distant past had finally come to Earth, the planet. The precursors had prepared as their final stronghold. In space, Lisa continued her work on the largest rift. The crystal's energy flowed through her, connecting her to every human wearing precursor armor. Through this network, she could feel their determination, their courage, and their losses, as some fell to the harbingers' attacks. "Hold the line," she urged them. "We only need a few more minutes." Admiral Ward's voice came through the communication link. "Lisa, we can't hold them much longer. The flagship's shields are failing." "Almost there," she answered, pushing more. Power into the rift closure. The dimensional tear began to shrink, its edges folding inward as the precursor energy rewove the fabric of space-time. The harbingers trapped outside their home dimension screamed in fury, sensing their defeat approaching. With a final surge of power, Lisa completed the seal. The crystal in her armor flared with blinding light, transmitting the energy pattern to every other armored soldier. Across the battlefield, humans activated the same sequence, closing the smaller rifts one by one. Cut off from their dimension of origin, the remaining harbingers began to weaken. The possessed Zeltari ships stopped firing, their crews confused, as the harbinger influence faded from their minds. "It's working," Eric reported from the Guardian. "The harbingers are losing cohesion." Lisa watched as the shadow creatures dissolved into nothingness, unable to maintain their form in our dimension without the rifts to sustain them. After thousands of years of preparation, the war that the precursors couldn't win was finally ending. 3 days later, Lisa stood beside Admiral Ward as the Zeltari ambassador signed the peace treaty. Free of harbinger influence, the aliens were horrified by what they had been forced to do. "Our people owe yours a debt we can never repay," the ambassador said solemnly. "The harbingers controlled us for generations, using our bodies and ships for their purposes." "It wasn't your fault," Lisa replied, "and it wasn't just humans who won this war. It was the precursors too, working across time to create the tools we needed." She looked down at her armor, the crystal still pulsing softly at its center. The war was over, but humanity's journey was just beginning. The precursor vaults contained more than weapons. They held knowledge, technology, history. What happens now? Eric asked as they left the treaty ceremony. Lisa smiled. Now we learn what the precursors truly intended for us to become. Not just warriors, but their heirs. The next guardians of the galaxy. Around them, Earth was rebuilding, humans and aliens working together. The armor that no alien could wear had chosen humanity, awakened an ancient war, and revealed humanity's true purpose among the stars.